Title: 3 Medical Secrets That Will Keep You Flying After 70. There's a moment that many pilots quietly worry about. It usually happens sometime in their late 60s. You're sitting in the waiting room at your aviation medical exam. The magazines are old, the coffee tastes like it's been there since 1985, and suddenly a thought crosses your mind. What if this is the year they ground me? Not because you can't fly, not because you've lost the skill, but because of something medical. And here's the truth many new pilots don't realize. For thousands of pilots, the biggest threat to their flying career after 70 isn't the airplane, it's the medical certificate. But here's the good news. There are pilots today flying safely into their mid-70s, even their 80s. Some are still flying cross-country in aircraft like the Cirrus SR-22, the Cessna 182 Skylane, or the Beechcraft Bonanza G36. Others are enjoying slower, simpler flying in aircraft like the Piper Cub J3 or the Aviate Husky. So what's the difference? Why do some pilots keep flying while others get grounded? After years of talking with aviation medical examiners, experienced pilots, and instructors, 3 patterns appear again and again. 3 medical secrets, if you want to call them that. And if you're someone in your 50s or 60s thinking about flying long into retirement, these might become some of the most important things you ever learn about aviation. Let's start with the first secret. And surprisingly, it has nothing to do with medicine. It has to do with timing. Many pilots wait too long to think about their medical future. They assume that if they feel healthy, everything will be fine. But aviation medicine works a little differently. Because once a medical problem appears in your FAA record, it can become very difficult to remove. That's why experienced pilots plan ahead. For example, a friend of mine started flying in his late 50s. His first airplane was a Cessna 172 Skyhawk. Nothing flashy, just a reliable, forgiving airplane that thousands of pilots have trained in. But here's the smart decision he made. Before he even bought the airplane, he scheduled a consultation with an aviation medical examiner. Not a medical exam, just a conversation, and that one conversation probably added 10 years to his flying life. Because the doctor helped him understand what issues might appear later and how to avoid triggering problems with the FAA. Think about this for a moment. Many people spend months researching airplanes. They compare the speed of a Mooney M20U Ovation Ultra with the comfort of a Piper Saratoga. They debate whether a Diamond DA-40 Star or a Cessna 182 Skylane is the better cross-country machine. But they rarely spend time researching the one thing that could stop their flying completely: their medical eligibility. That's secret number 1. Plan your medical future before you need to. Now here's secret number 2, and this one surprises many people. The type of airplane you fly can affect how long you stay in the air, not directly through regulations, but through workload. Let me explain. As pilots age, cognitive workload becomes more important, not because older pilots are less capable, but because fatigue appears faster during complex operations. Imagine flying something like a Lancair 4P or an Epic E1000GX. These aircraft are incredibly fast and capable, but they demand constant attention. High speeds, complex systems, serious performance. Now, compare that to flying a relaxed Sunday morning flight in something like a Piper PA-28 Cherokee or a Grumman AA-1. Lower speeds, simpler systems, more margin for error. And that's exactly why many experienced pilots choose slightly simpler aircraft later in life. Not because they have to, because they want to. I know one pilot who moved from a Cess TTX to a Diamond DA-62 in his 70s. The twin offered stability, excellent visibility, and modern automation that reduced workload. Another pilot sold his Beechcraft Baron G58 and started flying a Vans RV-10 for personal trips. Less complexity, more enjoyment. And here's something interesting I've noticed at airports across North America and Europe. Older pilots often migrate toward airplanes that are simply fun to fly. Aircraft like the Cubcrafters X-Cub, the Kit Fox Series 7, or the Just Aircraft Superstall. Slow flying, grass strips, beautiful scenery, the kind of aviation that reminds you why you started flying in the first place. And I'm curious about your opinion here. If you were flying after 70, would you prefer a fast-traveling machine like the Daher TBM 960 or Pilatus PC-12 NGX? or something simpler and more relaxed like a Piper PA-18 Super Cub or Zenith CH-750 STOL? Let me know in the comments. Your answer might surprise other viewers who are trying to decide what kind of flying they want in retirement. Now let's talk about the third secret. And this one might be the most important of all. It's about how you approach your aviation medical exam. Most pilots treat it like a yearly inconvenience. Show up, answer questions, pass the tests, go home. But experienced pilots who keep flying past 70 treat the process differently. They build a relationship with their aviation medical examiner. They communicate early. They document everything carefully, and they never surprise the FAA with unexpected medical issues. Let me give you an example. A retired airline captain I once met still flies recreationally in a Cirrus Vision Jet SF-50. He's well into his 70s, and he told me something interesting. Every year, months before his official medical exam, he visits his regular doctor and runs through a complete health review. Blood pressure, cardiovascular tests, vision, everything. That way, if something appears that could concern the FAA, he has time to address it before the official medical evaluation. That strategy alone has helped many pilots avoid medical deferrals. And if you've ever experienced an FAA medical deferral, you know how complicated that process can become. The truth is, aviation medicine is not just about passing a test. It's about managing risk proactively. Pilots who succeed after 70 understand that, and they adapt. Some transition to aircraft that are easier to operate, like the Pipistrel Virus SW or the Aeropract A-22 Foxbat. Others move toward aircraft with excellent automation and stability, like the Diamond DA-50RG or Piper PA-46 Malibu. And some simply slow down and enjoy the beauty of low and slow aviation. Flying along a river in a de Havilland Canada DHC-2 Beaver. Landing on a quiet strip with a RANS S-21 outbound, watching the sunset from 2,000 feet. Sometimes the best flying happens when speed no longer matters. But here's something I want to ask you. Do you think aviation regulations should change for older pilots? Some people believe experience should count more than age. Others believe medical standards must stay strict to protect safety. What do you think? Should a pilot with 10,000 hours in aircraft, like the Pilatus PC-12, Cessna 208 Caravan, or King Air 260, be treated differently than a newer pilot? Share your thoughts in the comments. These conversations are incredibly important for the future of general aviation. Now, before we finish, I want to leave you with something encouraging. Many people believe flying after 70 is rare. It's not. In fact, some of the happiest pilots I know are well past that age. One gentleman at my local airport is 78 and still flies his Cessna 210 Centurion on weekend trips. Another couple regularly travel across the country in their Mooney M20U Ovation Ultra. And every summer, a retired bush pilot still takes his Quest Kodiak 100 into remote strips just for fun. The secret isn't youth. It's preparation, good health habits, smart aircraft choices, and a proactive approach to aviation medicine. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about learning to fly later in life or continuing to fly long after retirement, remember these 3 secrets. Plan your medical future early. Choose aircraft that match your workload and comfort. And treat your aviation medical exam as an ongoing partnership, not just a yearly test. Do those 3 things. And there's a very good chance you'll still be enjoying the sky long after your 70th birthday. And before you go, I want to hear from you. If you could still be flying at 75, what airplane would you choose? A comfortable cross-country aircraft like the Cirrus SR-22? A powerful turboprop like the Daher TBM 960? Or a pure fun machine like the Piper Cub J3? Tell me in the comments, because the airplane you choose might say a lot about the kind of flying you truly love. And those stories are always worth sharing.